Welcome to the Career Refresh Podcast. I'm your host, Jill Griffin. I'm a former media and marketing executive turned career strategist and executive coach. I spent my career working my way up and through the ranks of global organizations and startups, and today I show others how to do the same. Join me each week as we discuss the strategies and actionable steps to leverage your strengths, increase your confidence, and develop your career well-being. Ready? Let's do it. Hey friends, welcome back. This episode was originally a LinkedIn Live where I talked to my friend and style coach, Naana Badu. She is a speaker, a style coach, and she coaches high-performing women and women of color to elevate their wardrobe to exude confidence, be instantly recognizable, and feel 100% authentic in any room. She has over 15 years working as a management consultant in the information technology industry, and she's navigated corporate spaces like IBM and Deloitte. She's also learned firsthand the career-changing power of authenticity and confidence. In this episode, we talk about what executive presence means to her, why clothes matter, and how to figure out what works for you, and the simple steps that you can take today to start discovering your authentic style. I'll put all the information in the show notes. Give a listen. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you soon. Hey, everyone. Welcome. I'm Jill Griffin. I'm a career strategist and executive coach, and I help high-achieving individuals and teams increase their career well-being, their productivity, and profit by creating strength-based cultures. And today I am speaking with my friend and fellow New Yorker, Brooklynite. That's right. Naana Badu, who has spent over 15 years as a management consultant at top companies like IBM and Deloitte. And she has turned stylist and image consultant. So she's also a stand for authenticity and confidence. So today we're going to talk about focusing on your personal and professional development, finding your authentic style, and also where you're up-leveling your executive presence. So I want to welcome Naana.
Hey, Jill. What's going on?
So good to see you here and have you here.
So good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks. So if anyone has any questions for either one of us, just drop them in the chat. We will do our best to monitor that. And as I always joke, it's like driving the car while you're building it, but I will try to do both. So definitely drop them in. But Naana, tell us, I always love to go way, way back and tell us, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, that's such a good question. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a gymnast or a fashion designer.
Oh, wow.
So I loved Dominique Dawes. For those who know, way back in the day, I think this is the 96 U.S. Olympics team. When she came on the scene, she was like the first Black girl that I saw in U.S. gymnastics, but even internationally on that championship level. And I was like, she's phenomenal. And I was always flipping around the house, and I was doing gymnastics a bit too at the time. And I was like, I want to be a gymnast. And for any of those who are like moms of gymnast kids, y'all know that is not a cheap sport. So I was in it for a couple of years, and it was a great experience. And then mom was like, "Baby, you need to find another sport. I love you, but..."
Mom was like, "All right, I love you, but..."
I love you, but, right? So that was a big one. And then I said I wanted to be a fashion designer. And it's actually my mom who remembers that one a little more than I do, because she points that out in relationship to the work that I do today as a stylist. And then I have done some fashion design. I have a handbag and accessories line called What Is Your Accent? And so that one actually even came to fruition a little bit more.
And you also, at some point in your journey, went to FIT.
Yes.
Which is, amazing to be able to bring in all of that from being a small child thinking about fashion design. And then eventually, here you are today. But I want you to kind of take people through that. you've spent 15 years in management consultant. So how did you make the pivot to style and image consulting?
Yeah, when I graduated from college, I studied marketing and international business. And, like many college graduates, it's like, get a good job, right? Like whatever that means. And so I had a friend who was at a career fair working at IBM, and he was telling me about this whole management consulting thing. Because I was like, what is this? And the way he was describing it, I was like, it sounds like I'm going to learn a lot, be able to do a variety of different things, because I'm not exactly sure what one thing I want to do right now. And I get to travel. All right, cool. Sign me up. I think this is going to be good. And so I entered into this space, and it was, a culmination of all those things and more. And so as I was in like the DC, the DMV area working, like a lot of folks, especially as a young Black woman, I was, in a lot of rooms in the government space where I was working with generals. I was working for the Department of Defense. I was working with the Air Force, TSA, DOE. I was working with all the DOs. And, a lot of senior level positions were held by a lot of white men. And a lot of times in the space that I was in on doing a lot of project management work, I was having to communicate with them and do a lot of communications building and planning. And I had to really figure out, one, how am I going to find my sense of confidence in entering this space? How am I going to stand my ground as a younger professional in the field? And then I already stand out because I'm young, I'm Black, and I'm a woman. So how can I make sure that's to my advantage?
Yeah. So what did you do? Like, what were some of the first things you did to hit that trifecta of making sure it was being used to your advantage?
Yeah, it's funny. It's I was looking at this article at Harvard Business Review today as I was doing it for a post, and they were interviewing like 10 different Black women and talking about their experiences in the workplace, talking about everything from code switching, wearing your hair natural, right? Like all these things that are like added thoughts in our minds that attach to just doing the work. And I was reflecting on my career, and I was like, man, I had to do the same things. And so, I thought a lot about, okay, when I'm going to have this conversation with this general, do I have to talk code switch? Because I grew up with mostly white people. So I knew what the code switch, like, I knew what it was and I knew what it wasn't, like, and I was like, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that. And, I would switch that up, and I would find myself, talking in a way that was like, oh, and doing the fake laugh, and like, it just like extra nonsense, right? That I thought that if I dimmed my light, or if I reduced myself to make the other person feel like they were more knowledgeable and had more authority over me, I thought that was going to be a good way to go. That was going to be helpful for me. End of the day, one, it just felt very uncomfortable. And I think after enough interactions like that, I was like, this is not it. Like, I'm naturally a conversationalist. I'm naturally energetic. I'm naturally a people person. Like, this is part of the reason why I got hired in the first place, right? And so I said, you know what, kind of bump this. And I just kind of make it like an own personal declaration of like, I'm just going to show up a little bit more of myself. So I would, I'd be like, that's what's up. That's awesome. Right. Like the same way I would kind of talk with my friends or my other younger colleagues, I would bring some of that into the workplace, and I would be like, Bob, what did you say? Like, what happened? I'm like, oh, that's wild. That's crazy. It was just anecdotal things like that that I used just in terms of the way that I communicated that were just more natural to me. Right. And then, of course, in my style, I just refused to shop at like Abercrombie and Fitch and like Banana Republic. I was like, no, going anywhere where they sell khakis and light blue collared shirts. Like, and it's just not going down. So I hopped over to Express and I literally bought like every bold colored top to everything that they had. I went a little overboard. But I was you know, I was just like, no, like I want to be seen, you know, like I knew from a young point in my career, the importance of visibility, right? Like I knew how important that was in the trajectory of my career. So I was like, I want to be visible. I want people to see me. I want to be noticed because I want a promotion. I want the job opportunity. Like I'm ready. I'm poised. Let's go. And so it just became a thing where I would enter into a lot of these rooms and clients would say, Naana, like you're young, but there's something about you. You just have confidence in like the way that you speak and the way that you carry yourself. And so I think, you know, in hearing some of those things and just my natural affinity to style, you know, I didn't think about it in terms of a career or something I wanted to do. But when I left IBM and I went independent as a consultant, I got a contracting opportunity with Deloitte. And so I moved to Northern California and started working there. And it was an experience I had with my then manager, who was also a Black woman. That was the first interaction and client experience that I had that I said, okay, this is something I could be doing.
Do you want to go a little deeper about that particular experience? I know you and I talked about it, but it's really, really compelling.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think, you know, one, making that switch from the East Coast to the West California, like there was also a natural shift in culture and just the way in which I think I carried myself that I was like unmissable. At work, right? And people would comment on it often, just like, yeah, there's a whole different thing going on. And I was like, I'm going to take that as a compliment. and like, I think I hear what you're trying to say, right? Like there is just this distinction about you. So I think the manager I had at that time was a Black woman, a phenomenal woman. My first time having a Black woman as a manager, which was an amazing experience in and of itself to see that representation. And she was going for promotion to senior manager. And we were having a conversation and she said, you know what, Naana, I feel like my executive presence is really strong. Like my work is top notch. My communication skills are excellent. You know, like I'm primed for partner track, managing director track. Like I'm on it. But my appearance, like I'm entering into these rooms with partners and I just don't feel like I'm on the same caliber, on the same level. Can you help me? And I was like, absolutely. Like, let's go. Like, let's do this thing.
This is the origin story, my friends. This is the origin story.
Yeah, right? I was like, girl, like, you know, it's like over lunch, right? I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
So
I'll spend your money. Let's go.
Right? So then I was like, feverishly, the consultant in me was like, okay, we need to create a scope of work, and I need a contract, and I need da. And mind you, I had previously done styling work before this. This wasn't my first client, but I did more fashion, editorial, commercials, photo shoots, that kind of thing, for a lot of musicians and artists. But this was my first time working with what they call that everyday, woman. Yeah. So it was very different, a lot more personal, a lot more relatable. So in a nutshell, we worked together for, I don't know, maybe like a month. And we revamped her wardrobe, everything, you know, hair, makeup, clothing, a whole nine. She came into work and people were like, hey, girl, what is going on? You know, like the change was very visible. And I think the other thing was that the change was very consistent.
Okay, so that's visible and consistent. Because I know from, you know, just my years working within a corporate environment, so often you're hedging your bets. Like you want to stand out, but at the same time, you also don't want to be in a situation where, you know, back then we didn't call it canceled, but now it would be sort of canceled or being told that you can't wear this. And I also just want to acknowledge that my privilege as a white woman, while I had struggles in working through, I did not have the struggles of a Black woman. So I just want to take a moment and honor that, because no one told me how to wear my hair or that I should or should not speak in a certain way. That was authentically me. So I do also just want to just honor that. Yeah. But when you think about someone who's really struggling between, I want to stand out, but I don't want to be dinged, and it's safer to stay quiet. How do you find the way to help your clients really bring that forth and find the right balance for them?
Yeah. I think it's so important to understand what you want. Like, what's your goal? What is your career goal? And 9 times out of 10, for the person who's even having these thoughts around executive presence, professional image, am I presenting myself in the best possible light? It's because you want more. Mm-hmm. You want more money. You want more recognition. You want a higher, position or role. You want to make a career switch, right? You want more. And so if you're that type of person, seeking out, you're going to be somebody who doesn't follow the trends, right? You set them. You are not afraid to lead first. Right? And galvanize others. So if that's the case, like, reference that, pull from that, right? Pull from that and know that the way in which you think about your wardrobe is going to be no different than your career. You're going to want to do it strategically, but you're also going to want to do it with intention, knowing that it's going to get you further, right? So there's going to be times where you're going to be in a meeting or you have an idea and you're like, this is totally different from what everybody's saying right now, but like, I think this is the right way to go. And I know if I do this, like, they're gonna pick me to lead the next project. You know what? I have a thought, right? Like, it's gonna be uncomfortable or whatever. You practice, anything, you're uncomfortable public speaking. You go to Toastmasters, right? And you're like, this is an important skill set for me to understand and learn. And so you make that investment and you really hone in on those skills. Your style and your wardrobe is no different. That's what people see first. That is what they see first. They don't hear you. They haven't read your resume oftentimes. They have not had years of your experience at previous employers, but they see you first, and then they will continue to see you every single day. So you have an opportunity to speak through the way that you dress and let them know that I'm exactly who you think I am. Like, this is who I'm going to be. Right? And then you're able to define what that is. So I think, one, understanding what your career goals are is really, really important. And then the second thing I always encourage people to do is really to define what kind of style you envision for yourself.
And where can they go for inspiration from that, right? Because if you look through various magazines, that may look beautiful on the model in front of me, but they may not look good on my body type or, the actual shade of my skin or that color, like for me, sorry, beige is not my friend. Right. And equally super bright yellows, not my friend. So yeah. How do you know from what you're seeing what's going to actually add to?
One of the best things you can do is create a mood board for yourself. And it's a simple exercise, and it can be fun. Like, make it something fun, right? Like, embrace this as something that's new and exciting, and something as part of your career development journey that you're gonna, that's just a source of enjoyment, right? And I think that you can do this simply by Pinterest, Instagram. In this day and time with the internet, you can do Google searches. I do this all the time for clients. And one of the most important things that I do when I'm doing the mood board is that I find women that look like my clients. So I think it's really important to see representation. So speaking to what you're saying about color and skin tones, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to say, okay, I am looking for, it might be women in their 40s, women in their 50s, sizes 14 to 16, like, I'm going to brunettes, blonde, right? Or if I'm looking for Black women, I'm going to say dark-skinned women, short natural hair, right? Slender type. Like, I can get specific. And obviously in my line of work, I have references of some people, whether it might be celebrities or folks who I'm like, I see someone and I say, I have a recollection, right, of who influences their style. But I think it's really important for you I would immediately go to Pinterest, because that's a great place that, especially their search engine is so good. You're going to find everyday people posting pictures about what they wear to work. And I think that is an immediate source of inspiration and a great reference for you to say, okay, this person is my skin tone, similar hair, I got the same body shape. Okay, if she's wearing this, I think that, you know what? I want to do a little leopard print. I think I could get a leopard print.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to try that.
Okay. So really spending some time searching in human language, putting it into either Google or putting it into Pinterest as ways of building a mood board. And then, of course, finding representation for whatever you look like or want to aspire to, finding that representation. Okay, so those are solid things that people can do. But then the next question that I got, is the work that I end up doing with people is at that senior level who is either trying to up level within their company or perhaps go for another job. And we spend so much time on the executive presence and the mindset piece. And very often there's the question of, does it matter? I'm going to be on Zoom. I'm going to be in Teams all the time. It's a lot of money. To invest into these other areas. I spend the money on my hair and my manicures, but I don't necessarily spend it within suits. And the many men that I work with, the same thing, where they're saying, all you're really seeing is the collar anyway, so what does it matter? What would you say to someone who's questioning that?
Yeah. I think that I'll give you this thought, when it's time to do Netflix and chill, right? When you're like, it's Friday, you finish working, I want to watch a movie, have some popcorn, chill out. More than likely, the first thing you do is grab a t-shirt and some sweatpants. Something loose, something baggy, something comfortable, and a blanket, and you're relaxing, right? So to me, your clothing directly impacts your behaviors and your thought process. There are direct association that we have with certain clothes, right? When you put on a suit, you immediately think, I'm going to a job interview. I have a presentation. I have to be in front of important meetings and important people. This is important, right? So you already know that exists. So why is it that simply because the work environment has switched from in-person to virtual, that all of a sudden you just throw all that out the window? And you're like, doesn't matter.
Right.
Nobody's seeing me.
Right.
Doesn't matter, right? What does it matter for you and how you act? I think too often people are so concerned about what other people think. And it has to be about you first, right? It has to be about what you want. It has to be about...
Because otherwise you're going to always be chasing what you think someone thinks. But you don't actually know what they think.
You have no idea.
You're nothing.
You are guessing, you are assuming, you are presuming, and that's all a downward spiral for yourself. So what do you want? If you want to feel comfortable, but you also want to feel, professional, right? And I see this question from Shelly in the chat about this, especially that, finding that balance between too casual pandemic pants and showing up looking great, but not too fancy. Like, you really have to understand yourself and those career goals, on a tangible level, your body shape and the fit of clothing is really, really important, right? And so I think it's really important for us to understand that if we're thinking about casual and work from home, that naturally makes us think about something that has a looser fit. Mm-hmm. Typically, that's an association. Is first thing people think comfort, and that goes to the fit of clothing, right? And so I'm like, fine, no problem, right? Just because you're going to wear something that might have a looser fit doesn't mean it has to have less quality, right? And I think that's the piece that people really want to pay attention to is the quality factor, right? Like if you're going to be working from home, it doesn't mean that, immediately I'm just going to wear whatever t-shirt. Like I'm not going to put any effort in, right? And I think that's the other thing that people immediately go to when they think about working from home and casual is they associate casual with less effort. And I'm like, that's not what casual means. Casual means that something might have a looser fit to it a lot of times, right? Yeah. Casual means that there might be a little less structure in the fabric.
Right, and I think that's what we're seeing, right? So there's been many articles, both in the New York Times, I've seen it in the Washington Post, I've also seen it in some of the fashion magazines, talking about business comfort or work leisure or power casual is the other term.
Yes.
Like, leave it to the marketers to brand anything. But I think the takeaway here is, and what I've heard from other people who are studying this space, is the idea that what's in the store right now, many of the retailers are in a course correct, right? We didn't know how the pandemic was going to pan out. We didn't know how it was going to play out. We didn't know what working from home versus coming in certain days a week, so what that flex schedule was going to be. So what is in the stores right now may be more casual, right? There's a lot of athleisure stuff that's going on for sure. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you just have to search a little bit more to really nail what it means for you. And the other thing that you were saying about, like, how do you want to feel? I was reading, and obviously knowing I was going to meet you today, I was reading that the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology coined the phrase embodied cognition. And again, this is all within my area of mindset. It's describing the idea that it's not just what our brains are thinking, but it's with our bodies. So when you putting on clothes, they actually influence the way you interact with the world. So when you put on a set of Lululemons or running tights, even if you didn't know you were going to work out, you feel differently versus that crisp white shirt on a summer night where, maybe you're going out to dinner, or the outfit that you've selected for a formal affair, right? All of that really embodies. So I love that you're pulling that through the work that you're doing with your clients of really helping them embody and not just be thinking about effort. Go to the full effort.
It's go for the full effort. And I think the other thing is we're so extreme. Like everything is like, do I wear a suit or do I wear jeans? And I'm like, what about the middle? Like, I think I would encourage folks that, even thinking about Shelly here, like if you're in that space where you're like, I only get that. I know how to dress up or dress down. But this whole other middle area we're talking about here, I don't understand it. I would invite you to mix the separates in those two worlds, right? So take the blazer that you would wear with the suit and mix it with the jeans that you would wear on the weekends, right? Like just play with the separates of what you would wear in those extreme professional settings with what you might wear more casually. So if you're wearing some casual Everlane pant pants that are, great comfort, got some stretch in them, right? But maybe before you would wear that with a blazer and you would wear it with heels. Maybe now you're just gonna wear it with flats, right? Okay. Maybe you're just gonna wear it with flats now. Okay. And then maybe you have the blazer or maybe not. Maybe you're just gonna pull out a blouse or a great, button-up denim shirt and you're gonna say, okay, cool, I'm good to go. But play with the separates that exist in those two extremes, and I think that's going to help you find the middle ground that works best for you.
Okay, so we have like 2.5 or 3 or so minutes left. So I want to bring it back to the tips that people can actually do today. 1, you said do a mood board, do some searching. Obviously, Pinterest is your friend. Yes. The next thing that you were saying is around playing with mixes, right? Finding ways, maybe taking everything out of your closet and looking at things differently and what might go together. Tell us what else that they can do today. Are there brands? Are there online retailers that you're thinking that would be helpful for people? What else can they do?
Yeah, I think that one of the best things when I spoke about this a little bit before, but really defining your style, understand what your style type is. So there are about 7 different style types that most of us fall into. And there's a post if you like need a reference, DM me and I can send you a link to a post that I did about this, and it breaks it all down. But it's a really great reference so that you know what your core style type is, right? Oh, I'm classic. I like really crisp lines, which most people who are in the corporate space have a classic style type. This is your traditional, blazer, pants, pencil skirts, right? Like things of that nature, A lot of folks might want to have more of an elegant style type where you're playing with more silk blend fabrics, right? Or maybe you're doing more monochromatic tones. So it's really important to define your style type and understand what that is. That's going to be a great source for you as you start to search and build out your mood board. Then when you go into your closet, you can do that from a place of clarity and knowledge, right? That's what's most important, because right now you're uncertain and unknowing. So you really want to have more clarity and knowledge about how you go into your closet. It's not about jumping to shop and buy. If you're thinking I'm just going to go to a store and buy things, stop. Don't do that. Go to your closet first and foremost, and then begin to play around with what you have there. I think two of the most important spaces that you can add to when thinking about playing around and how to, kind of zhuzh things up in your wardrobe are color and accessory. Jill, this is like something that's a little bit lower on the totem pole, because sometimes when it comes to the clothing category and we think about the dresses or pants or shoes, we think, that often has a higher price point to it. But if you think about adding some color or accessories into a couple of your tops, even if it's a couple of those shell tops that go underneath the blazers, right? Like, or thinking about it in terms of the necklace or in terms of earrings, like that's an easy place for you to start to add a little bit more color into your wardrobe, which is always a great way to add more eye-catching, add more boldness, which with my clients is often a space where they feel like they need support.
Or I'm saying from one eyeglass queen to another.
Yeah.
Eyeglass wardrobe. Like at a certain point when I figured out that I was going to have to wear eyeglasses all the time, I was like, well, they're going to be fab. They're going to be fab.
Be fab. 1,000%. Yeah.
So tell everyone how you can work, how they can work with you, where to find you.
Yeah.
So all the details.
Yeah, I am living and loving LinkedIn. So please, if we're not already connected, send me a connection request. Let me know that you watched this LinkedIn Live with Jill. And from there, we can just have a conversation. Like for me, it's really about understanding who you are, your career goals, where your style is now, what your major challenges are. And then from there, we can decide and have a conversation about whether you might be a good fit for my signature style coaching program, which is called the Style Elevation Experience. And it's really all about helping a lot of women and women of color understand what their bold, authentic style looks like and how to embody that with more confidence and more consistency so that they can step into any room they desire and slay.
Yeah, I love it. And tell them your URL, please.
Yeah, definitely. So you can find me at badubasics.com. That is my company. So if you go on any platform, any social media platform, at Badu Basics is where you'll find me, or on my website. But definitely connect with me here on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you for giving everyone just a little bit of an understanding of where they can start with this area, doing some searching. I love that you said, in addition to, Google Images and Pinterest, to also, finding people who look like me, finding representation is super important. And then not just going on a shopping spree, looking at your clothes and finding what is the small level up, the 1% that you might want to change, and doing it slow so that it's slow and steady. And as you said earlier on, consistent. And consistency is the key, because no one wants to come in and all of a sudden feel like they're wearing a costume and everyone's like, oh, what happened, right? So slow and steady. I love it. And then I love that you also said that color and accessories, so that those are additional small things that you can do to really feel embodied in the clothes that you're wearing and up-level your executive presence. So thank you so much, Naana, for being here.
Absolutely.
I adore you and I love your work. And I'm always like, wow, look what she wears. just love it. I think it's awesome. So
thanks so much, Jill.
All right, my friend.
You.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the Career Refresh podcast. If you're enjoying this and you want more information, go to my website, jillgriffincoaching.com. There you can find information on how to work with me one-on-one or my group programs, or even bring me into your workplace. I'll put the link to my website in the show notes. But hey, listen, before you go, do me a favor, rate and review this podcast because it definitely helps me get the word out to people everywhere so that they can also thrive in the workplace. All right, friends, I appreciate you. I'll see you soon.